Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to look at the pros and cons of the ban on student politics on the campus of on the campuses of the University of Liberia. Also, U.S. Ambassador to Liberia, McCarthy, had made a statement against those he called media personalities and political personalities in the United States. Is he right? We're going to be looking also at the pros and cons of his statement regarding media personalities and politicians in the diaspora. With me to debate this issue, we have G-Talk, Glendy Junius, who's joining us. Glendy, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. I'm anticipatedly waiting to talk about that LU stuff.
Looks intended. Let me welcome the Prophet Manager, Mr. P. Morris Kromah, independent minded. Mr. Kromah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here again.
Let us also welcome the unapologetic, unabashed seditionist. So we are supporter, Mr. Gayman. Welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you. As usual, Liberia is worth discussing, and we are prepared to discuss the pros and the cons. Thank you very much for the show.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. We are waiting for coming supporter, that's Mr. Mulbah Kesselly, and also Mrs. Welley Mulbah, who's independent, to be right here so that we can discuss. If you haven't done so already, please share the show. And let's get started. Mr. Gayman, before we get into our debate, you were reporting something that CPP is filing to the Supreme Court, and also we are expecting Mr. Joseph Juma Boakai to have his VP picked by tomorrow. What are you hearing? Or is this propaganda?
Well, from our war room, we are hearing that Joseph Boakai and his team have settled on Senator Jeremiah Cohn of Amb County to be his VP, choice of VP. We also received a copy of an immediate press release from the CPP. Today, March the 17th, they have filed a petition to the Liberian full Supreme Court questioning the legality of the Elections Commission and its power to conduct voter registration when they are questioning the census. So not only are they appealing to the judge in chamber, they are appealing before the full Supreme Court. And I forward that copy of the letter to you.
Thank you. Mr. Kromah, you are friendly with a lot of Unity Party folks. What are you hearing about the VP pick for Mr. Boakai?
I mean, if what Gayman is reporting is actually true, then I'm excited about that. It's actually good news. I'm excited to hear such a news. I think having a young man from a very populous county, I think it's a good strategy. if Gayman word is anything we should go by, I think now the 2020 officially 2023 election have kicked off. Now I'm excited about this one.
Right, but Gayman has a history of reporting
propaganda.
Exactly. That's what you see. I'm putting all the caveat around it because Gayman don't have a transparent history of reporting. So you have to put some caveat around the statement when you make a statement about it.
Gito, you have a lot of friends in the ANC. Say the CPP of Mr. Cummins is at the Supreme Court. Gayman is reporting also that is at the Supreme Court trying to say we don't trust the NEC.
I have friends everywhere. I have not heard that. Both of those stories I've heard nothing about. Even VP Parker, in the same church in Liberia, I've heard nothing about those two things that he's saying. You know the source now. Do you want us to trust the CDC war room? Really?
All right.
You're gonna eat crow with cheese tomorrow.
If it's true, then so be it. But until that time,
but I send you the CPP. Okay, the CPP. This is their letterhead. This is their press release, and you're telling me you remember the CPP and you didn't get this. You didn't get
member. Don't slip it in there. I'm not a member of CPP.
Mr. Kromah, you didn't get this press release. What you got? You got under the rock?
Yeah. Where you send the letter? We get it yet.
This is the press release, man. Let me put it in our chat room.
No need for you to put it there, Gayman. It could be a fabricated, like you are a mastermind for this kind of propaganda thing. So it's
you are the one that the ambassador are talking about. You're trying to undermine our institutions that we are trying to build.
Don't rush the topic and don't change it.
I would think that. Right. I was talking about it like that. But like I said, you have a history of having this kind of manipulated information that can come out in the news. So I remember when you said that the CEO for Spoon had 300 registered institutions, not knowing that there are multiple individuals with similar names, but you take everything and say this man own all this corporation and some of them inactive, some of them active. But that's you. Everybody know you for that, so it's okay.
Listen, I gave you the website. I give you the link, and when you check it out. So, hey, what can I say?
All right, let's get this started. Today, we heard, or it's being reported, that the president of the university has announced a suspension of student political activities or student politics on all campuses of the University of Liberia. This came as a result of the violence that took place on the university campus. Let me read the letter. Let me read part of the letter. This is a letter from Professor Dr. Julius Julukon Sawolo Nelson. As of today, March 16, 2023, student politics on all UL campuses are hereby suspended until further notice. The suspension comes in the wake of the many violent disturbances on the University of Liberia campuses. Students are mandated to keep in strict conformity to the pronouncement. Violators will be severely sanctioned in keeping with the UL revised student handbook. Accordingly, no political group shall assemble or hold meetings or engage in any politically related activities on any of the University of Liberia campuses during this period of suspension. The suspension affects political solidarity marches, political gatherings, the wearings of symbols and emblems depicting and promoting campus-based political groups, student protests, among others. At the same time, the UL administration condemns in the strongest possible terms the violent disturbances that erupted on the UL Capitol Hill campus on Monday. And it concludes, let me skip to the bottom here, you got the point. The UL administration ensures and commits the full protection and safety of all students, staff, faculty, and users of the facilities and services of the university. Meanwhile, UL students are reminded that the revised UL student handbook strictly prohibits the use of disruptive noises, violence, and vandalism on all its campuses. Let me start with Glendy on this one. Glendy, that's the suspension of student politics on University of Liberia campus. For or against?
I am totally against it, 100%.
Mr. Gayman?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, continue.
No, I was just saying I am totally against it. We can talk about the reasons later, but I'm totally against it. I'm appalled even by the publication sent by the president and the way it was issued and the fact that it is one-sided.
Mr. Gayman, for or against?
Obviously, it is appropriate, a little belated. It should have been done a little while ago, maybe about a year ago, but it has been done. I think I applaud the president for being late, but he did the appropriate thing. This is bordering national security. The university is downtown Monrovia, across from the Capitol Hill, the executive mansion, the justice ministry. Everything is right there. This is the heart of Liberia. And to have such a disturbance where we have basically like a war zone, I think it is appropriate for them to close the campus and reevaluate security for the students, for faculty and visitors.
You said close the campus. They are not closing the campus.
No, I mean the activities. Close the activities for the time being. Evaluate the security for student, faculty, and our guests.
Mr. Kromah, for or against?
I mean, I think it's preposterous to hear the university president make such a statement, banning student political activity.
No, he didn't ban. He didn't ban. Please don't use the word ban.
He did. So suspend that ban.
No. Suspension is different from ban.
Mr. Gayman, when you speak, we give you a chance. It'll be respectful just for you to give me a chance to say mine. I mean, you are speaking, I disagree. Everything you just said, but I allow you to speak. So it's courtesy. Just,
please allow him to speak.
Yeah, just give me that simple courtesy. It's the rule of communication, Mr. Gayman. Let's follow these rules.
Why you come out here and you say you're independent when I know you're a UP man?
Okay. So Dennis, that's how I was saying. It's preposterous to hear the U.S. president, trying to stop young people from exercising what is the culture of the University of Liberia. This is exactly what happened during President Doe time. This is exactly a photocopy of what happened during Doe presidency. And I think when leaders are beginning to get fearful about, thank God you have, oh my God, Dennis, this is what makes Focus on Liberia an elite institution.
Very.
Exactly the same exact thing that happened. So now we are going back to the days when some of these leaders are feeling intimidated by university students and they attempt to say they're stopping young people from expressing themselves. When you do that, you want to embolden these young people to say, okay, we challenge the system consistently. This is terrible leadership. Whether it went through the University of Liberia president, it came from the president of Liberia, wherever it comes from, it should be nipped in the bud, because what's going to happen is you are emboldening these young people to actually do more than what happened on that day. And actually, don't use Band-Aid to cover a massive sore. You have a certain lawmaker who creates a conflict on the university campus. You don't demand that this lawmaker be held accountable, but you're trying to take the rights away from young people who all they want to do is just express themselves politically because they are conscious about what happened in the society. It's rather unfortunate, but I think it's unfortunate. It's a partisan. The president of the UR has become a partisan man now. He's no longer a university president.
All right, let's go into the. So here,
I wanna.
You come in, Glendy.
No, I want to ask the audience if they're on, because I'm only able to see my comment.
The audience are on.
They are on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are on. And audience, if you're on, please, we have one comment in addition to your comment, Glendy. They're on. They're coming. So there are a few things, and I want us to go into details now about the suspension. So first of all, the letter says, as of today, March 16, that was yesterday, student politics on all UL campuses are hereby suspended until further notice. So the question that comes also, what's your reliance, students are mandated to keep in strict conformity to this pronouncement. Violators will be severely sanctioned in keeping with the UL Revised Student Handbook. I hope we know which provision of the handbook and what it says. And what does this mean? The ban or the suspension, what does it mean? No political group shall assemble or hold meetings or engage in any politically related activities on any of the University of Liberia campuses during this period of suspension. It also means the suspension affects political solidarity marches, political gatherings, the wearing of symbols and emblems depicting and promoting campus-based political groups, student protests, among others. Glendy, let me start with you again. You say you don't want this, you don't like it. Why?
And I think I want to first comment on what Mr. Gayman said when he tried to infer that the reason why the president is doing this is because the campus is being classified as a war zone and that it's close to the Capitol building and all of that. All of those things are just words that he's using that does not describe the situation. I think it's unfortunate. I think the first incident that occurred in recent times was President Sawyer's funeral. That we heard that people from the city mayor, people were there dressed up in their berets and stuff, and they went and there were people that were injured. We also saw the injury of Sisuku or Sisuli. We saw that. Nothing happened. Dr. Nelson was still president during those incidences. He said nothing. He did nothing. Why now? I am totally against it because of the timing. Number one, I also want to find out, and that is why I even am holding the Alumni Association, even though with the people, they have the caveat that it's an NGO, we have to ask Dr. Nelson some questions because we are stakeholders. I am a graduate, an honor graduate of the University of Liberia. So we have to find out for him the decision that was made, was the board involved? Or was that a unilateral decision that was made under the influence of President Weah? What this does now is says that this decision made was biased because clearly, if you're only going to punish the students and not even reprimand a sitting lawmaker, that is ridiculous. So everything now, the student is to be blamed. I get that the students, when you look at the Howard situation, we have been saying that they put their hands on him and he had some injury. But to what end is this? So what was Akara's Gray's position? Did he do nothing? How do we correct him? Why is he not being blamed? Why is he not being named? Why is he not being held responsible for igniting this situation? And how does this letter and banning and suspending classes and suspending politics on campus, how does this help the situation? Is it not going to ignite it? Did we not see students today blocking roads? Is he oblivious to the things that have happened in the past related to LU and not UL? He may want to go and research LU history because the UL of today is not the LU of yesterday. And those two people, they were. I think the decision, I describe it in two words. It was rash and it was rushed. It was rash because it was not thoroughly thought about. He didn't look at all sides. He only looked at, yes, maybe the president said do this, or maybe Koji said do this, or maybe he was influenced by partisan politics and decided he needed to do something to be in favor of his people. But I think it was rash and rushed. What was the need to do that? As the president, was there a need for him to meet with the students? Not to dialogue, but to tell him, this is what you've done, and because you've done this. But all of a sudden, you take the students out, you blame them for everything, and you leave Akara's Gray going strutting flat free. And he has a bigger responsibility.
But Glendy, the university president has no control over Akara's Gray.
Yes, he does not. But he could have mentioned it because he could have mentioned that there were other parties involved in what happened. Whether he has no control or not, he can't just simply go and write a letter and just be one-sided. I understand he's fully responsible for the students, but could he have condemned other people that infiltrated the campus? Could he have said something? He could have done that. And that would have been no reason to say that he was being responsible for Akara's grave. That would have said to us that he is acknowledging that there was some blame to be apportioned to Akara's grave by mentioning him. And I think he should have done that. To come and give a one-sided letter. And now it's not only the students who are implicated in these incidences that are suffering. It's innocent students who want to go to school. So how does this help any situation? How does it help?
So, Glendy, before I go to Mr. Gayman, how else could the issue be resolved? I mean, the students are throwing stones, they are heckling people going on the campus. It's a no-go zone for some government officials, and there's a standoff. How else could it have been resolved without an outright suspension of student political activities?
So this is the thing, Dennis. I think maybe his hands were tied and he needed to do something drastic. But my disapproval of it is that if you're going to do something drastic, then don't you have a student body? Don't you have a board? Don't you have other people that connects with SOUP? Could you have called a meeting and said, because of this, because of now, and we are afraid of the security of other students in the campuses, we have to suspend classes pending investigation? Could he have done that? Was there a better way to do it? Absolutely. There was a better way to have done it.
Thank you. Mr. Gayman, do we know the root cause of the violence on the campus, and how is banning student politics or suspending student politics address the root cause of the issue?
Well, first of all, I want to correct us here. We shouldn't use the word ban, because the letter you read did not mention the word ban. Ban means something that's permanent. Suspension is temporary, pending investigation. So we want to get those two words clear. But I want to actually thank Honorable Gray for his heroic and historic march on this campus. His means of dealing with this justifies the end. This thing been hanging around for over 2 years, and nobody were able to do anything until Akara's grave did something. First of all, let's go to the Constitution of Liberia, Article 13. It says that nobody should impede the freedom of movement. Anybody within the bailiwick of the Liberian government has the right to free movement. When the students said this campus is a no-go zone for anybody who works in this particular government, not only did they threaten, but they carry out the act. When Natana McGill and the finance minister adhered to what they wanted renovation, they wanted repairs on the road, they wanted all of these things done. When these two people went to inspect the renovation, they attacked them, chased them off campus. When the vice president went there recently, the vice president of the republic, they chased her out of there. She and her security barely escaped. The Solicitor General, I think for some people, they say he's a professor there too, or he's a lecturer there, duly invited on campus. They chased him. You saw what they did. They almost manhandled. He got in his car, and I was afraid that he was going to run over some of these kids because they have surrounded his car. They won't let him go. And then recently, Mr. Harder, they followed him, beat him up, beat his car, threw rock, injured him, and they said this campus is a no-go zone for any government official. This is not student activism. This is criminality. Where do we draw the line between intellectual discourse and criminality? This particular same group of kids, they're not kids, they are men, some of them in their 40s. They ran across the street to my university, AMEU, my church university, and they damaged, vandalized the university, chased some students they said were sympathizers with the government. They left the University of Liberia campus and went on AMEU and destroyed the campus because they suspected that student leaders over there are sympathizers with the government. This is not student activity. This is pure terrorism. That's what it is. So I think the president did it. The president of the university, as much as this was late, did the right thing for him to suspend this. And I'm going to give you some historical context. May 4, 1970, Kent State University in Ohio there was a student rioting and they were shooting. They called the National Guard. The National Guard shot in the crowd, trying to calm down the crowd, and some students got killed. And based on that, not only did they close that university, but they closed several universities. So yes, until they got it under control. So we have presidents here. The national security took precedent over anything else. And at this point, I think President Nelson is right, even though belated.
Right. So you named some instances, right? The heckling and booing of Howard. How does a ban on student politics stop something like that? Because hold on. Any group of people can get around him, not in the name of any student political party, and still boo him. Would that be part of the suspension?
Listen, I went to undergraduate school here at Rutgers University in New Jersey, where we took part in student government, all the other stuff. When we did our protest, they had a line where we protest with our sign and read.
I get that. How does
we never put our hands on people? We never circle government officials. It never happened.
Like what they did to the vice president, right? How does suspending student politics solve that problem? Because people can do it, right?
And they can do it anywhere.
No, listen to this.
They can do it anywhere.
Listen. First of all, there are rules according to the handbook. What the president is saying, they are going to suspend the activities and they are going to go around the table, bring, I guess, the justice minister has appointed a committee, including the police department, to deal with, to thoroughly investigate. The university itself has appointed an independent minds of folks to go and investigate the root causes of this, why the handbook, the rules and regulations of the university are not being followed, and why it took this long for Gray to go on campus. Gray, everybody knows, has all right to be on the campus because the campus is in his district, and he's an alum of that university. Second, what brought Yeke Koluba to the campus to say he's coming? Listen. He's coming to.
Hold on, Glendy.
I thought you guys said when somebody was talking, other people shouldn't talk. Yeah. So Yeke Koluba said he came to liberate the campus. Those are his words. He came to liberate. And you see Glenn been talking here all today. Mr. Maurice Kromah been talking. Nobody mentioned Yeke Koluba's name. So I support the suspension. Let them investigate thoroughly and come up with something like the Brownell Commission. It has to be transparent, it has to be open, and it has to be solution-based.
This one is a David Sandy Commissioner. Mr. Kromah, banning, maybe closing the university temporarily, could that help?
No. So it's interesting that Mr. Gayman is using a U.S. perspective to talk about what's happening in Liberia. Those two countries are completely 360, 60 degrees apart. The contexts are different. The societies are different. The economic systems are different. There are so many different ways to look at this, differently. But, the U.S. president statement, I would have been okay with it, just like Glendy said, if he had started off first by, first criticizing the role of Yeke Koluba and Akaras Gray, because it's a university campus. Politicians should not come and inspire or militarize young people that are supposed to be spending their time in classroom trying to acquire knowledge. Put that caveat out there first, because now what you're doing as university president is protecting the sanctity of the school. So you first criticize what Gray and Yeke Koluba involvement at the university on the university premise as a political ground should have been criticized in the first place. Then now when you say, okay, based on all of these things, I am taking these actions so as to, like I said, protect the sanctity of the university. But you go on and attack these young people who only desire is to be able to have a space to express themselves in their own country activity. It's their country. That's where they're from. If they don't have the right to express it, you can't tell them, say, you can't say what you want to say in this. You can't. These people that they're attacking and engaging with are public officials. These public officials that are publicly being marred by some kind of impropriety. So if the students, even if it's 3 people that gather in the street and say, these 3 people are not allowed to come on our university campus because they are perceived to be corrupt, it is their right to do that as Liberians. They have the full right to do that. They can be 5, they can be 500 in number, it doesn't matter. Even if it is just one person standing up doing that, that person is playing a patriotic duty. Whether it's the vice president, the finance minister, minister of state, whoever it is, the fact that those people somehow, the students have seen them or perceive them to be in some kind of impropriety and they're expressing their dislike. The physical engagement, I don't like that. It's completely counterintuitive to any kind of student political activity. But to publicly denounce those people because of what they've done, the students have the right to do that. They have the right to do that. And I think if you close the school down, you're only inspiring them to do more. I think to hear the justice minister trying to get involved in the university laboratory is a joke. All these invisible people dying and people disappearing in the country, justice minister haven't said anything, but now university students jumping out to demand action against public officials, and now suddenly justice minister want to get involved. We're going back to the Doe era. This is exactly what President Doe did. We're going back to that time. And unless something happens that people can see right through it and say, this is a transparent effort to do the right thing, people will continue criticizing. How can Akara's great colleagues in the House criticize him for his action, but somehow the justice minister don't see that something wrong with what he did, and the citizens don't see that something is wrong with what he did? I mean, it's the first time I've seen legislature, their own colleagues among themselves, saying, my man, what you did was wrong. It's the first time I've seen that. And it takes,
part of the university statement say the UL administration condemns in the strongest possible term the violent disturbances that erupted on the UL campus.
What does that mean? What does that mean? To me, those from the say in this public statement condemn. What does it mean?
Mr.
How to call these people out to say this is wrong. You shouldn't have come here with this thing on this campus to inspire.
You should not have.
Mr. Kromah.
Hold on, Gayman. Let me ask Mr. Kromah a question.
Yeah.
You said 3 persons can come together and say we don't want this person.
Even one.
Yeah, but is it also fair to say 3 persons can also come together and say we want this person on the campus?
That's correct.
Yes.
And how do we resolve that standoff?
So, but you see, that's the thing. When you create a space for people to have a discontent, you have to also create a space for people to say, okay, yeah, we support it. Mm-hmm. Now you create so that's why you need an unbiased security institution that can say, okay, we'll protect the right of everybody. You can say your own, they may can say, once you're not get into any kind of physical altercation, that's okay. But we have an institution like where the police have become a partisan police, and so people don't trust them anymore. Otherwise, it would be a good thing for the police to come and say, okay, yeah, you go ahead, express yours. You also express yours, and it's okay. It will protect everybody for expressing their opinion, because that's what the Constitution guarantees. It guarantees us to say what we want to say, especially when it comes to our state officials.
And I keep hearing people.
Hold on, Glendy, let Gayman come first.
Mr. Kromah, I know you say when I make the references, I shouldn't use America as an example, because America is a different country, but yet and still, everything we do, we want to use the American model as.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Now listen to this. Our Constitution in Article 13 makes it clear that no one can infringe on free movement. And you are saying here on national TV that yes, if 3 people get together, they can stop someone from moving in the Republic of Liberia. That is a constitutional violation. That is not right. You can't do that. You got no right to stop anybody from moving freely in the Republic of Liberia. It's enshrined. It's one of the top articles enshrined in our Constitution. Freedom of movement.
Mr. Gayman, I did not say that people should stop somebody from moving. I never said
No, you just said it. You said if 3 people get together and say they don't want you.
So you probably wasn't listening. Dennis, can you repeat, please, what I said so he can listen?
You can say you are not welcome is different from.
Aha. You see? Mr. Gayman, you have your own perceived mind.
No, you didn't.
But the things that I said, you never heard it.
You're trying to split hair here. Nobody, according to the Constitution, can stop anybody from moving. You can't say you can't come on the campus, and when the person enters the campus, you attack the person. And you say, because we told you this is a no-go zone. That is constitutional. You can't do that.
And how does suspended student politics address that, Mr. Gayman? That's what I want you. How does suspended student politics address that?
But look at the context of the letter. The letter said they are reviewing until the investigation can be completed. They will not allow anything to be going, and that's what responsible government do. That's what responsible leadership do. Okay, responsible leadership will say while this is on like any case when the case is in court. When you ask what happened, they will say, "Sir, as long as this is being judicially dealt with, I cannot speak to that at this point."
So could it be better to close down the campus until further investigation instead of?
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
That's what this is what we call collective punishment. That's not they are saying specifically student politics because student politics is the issue here. It's not
protesting is not politics.
It's not politics.
Listen, it is not an engineering department. It is not a science department. Right. It is not a medical school. It is the political parties that are doing this. The political issues on campus. So that particular aspect of the activities will be suspended.
Thank you. Let me get
it is the political parties that are doing this. I'm glad you acknowledge that. It's a good thing that you acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Glendy, your turn.
Because also I want to say to that, if you're banning or you're suspending politics on the university campus, is that not a degree in your curriculum? So where are they supposed to practice politics?
Oh, come on.
Where are they supposed to? And I keep hearing Mr. Gayman keep referring to Article 13. Can he refer to Article 15, Article 17? Can you please? Can you please refer to 15 and 17?
What 15 says?
And Article 15. Every person shall have the right to freedom of expression, being fully responsible for the abuse thereof.
Thank you.
This right?
Thank you.
Hold on. It's not finished.
Hold
on. This right shall not be curtailed.
That's right.
Restricted. Or enjoined by government.
That's correct. We agree.
If doing an emergency declaration, it should not be stopped.
That's correct.
Have a right.
We agree
they have
with
a
you.
Right. The government cannot stop them.
It has not been stopped.
Well, yes, it has.
No, it's not.
You keep talking about freedom of restricting people movement. They are also restricting people's speech. Then you go down into Article 17. And it says all persons at all times have a right to assemble. So why are they not stopping the people from assembling? If Gray was not going to ignite this thing,
read the whole thing. Read the whole thing.
I will read what I want to read because this is the thing.
You see?
If Gray,
Mr. Gayman, please turn your camera on.
Gray,
excuse me, yeah.
Gray, this is the thing, Dennis. Gray, everybody keeps saying, oh, it was his district. Oh, he has a right. He has a right to walk to foreign ministry. He has a right to go to Banja. He has a right to go to Oro. He has a right to go to Gaytown because that's his district or whatever his district is. Why is it that it was only directly after Howard's incident that he decided to go there? Why? If this was not to go and cause chaos, number two, did he not have driven there? What was the reason? What was the reason for marching? Was he going to a battle? Was he going to war? Why did he have other people behind him?
Glendy.
Who was he going to fight? What was the reason for doing that? So if the student was peacefully assembling that day and he went on the campus with the mindset, he created the tension. He created the problem. And he has to be held responsible. And I don't think people need to stop talking and stop holding Gray responsible. What he did was irresponsible as a lawmaker. And people need to speak about that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add a little bit to what Glendy said. I mean, I know I've heard people say the same thing, that Gray is Gray's district. I mean, the fact that people making it to seem like he owned a whole portion of Monrovia, quote unquote, his district, you know, and so he has.
You don't have to be in the district to go on the university campus.
Exactly. Everybody is supposed to be able to go.
But Kromah,
hold on, Mr. Gayman, hold on.
Yeah, well, why he contradicting himself? If everybody has the right to go anywhere, then why would they say this?
Mr. Gayman, hold on, please.
Chief. So everybody have a right to move around Liberia freely without any intimidation whatsoever.
Excellent, we agree.
If the elected lawmaker of that district decides that, well, I'm going to put 15, 20 people behind me, and we will march in the street like military people into a zone because something prompted our visit to this particular location, you are only exacerbating what could be a conflict.
Simple.
And like I said, Mr. Gayman, for us, we sit in classroom to understand the concept of what can lead to conflict. So when I say something that I say, I'm not saying all of because I'm trying to be political. But I want you to understand that these things can trigger conflict. And this is what happened today. The university students taking many tiles. It's just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Let's talk about how this rule can be enforced. And what will be the monitoring mechanism to make sure that everything that is outlined in that letter does not occur. Mr. Gayman, have any idea?
Well, first of all, let me correct Glenn here when she talked about Article 17. Article 17
well,
says,
now you know about 17.
Because listen, this is why when we debate the opposition like Kromah and Glenn, we like to keep them on their toes. Article 17 says that it says all persons at all times in an orderly.
Yes.
You hear this?
Was Gray orderly? Was Gray orderly?
Listen.
Was Gray orderly?
Talk about assembly here. You are talking about the young folks. Are they orderly when they are throwing rocks? When they are beating on the car? When they say there's no
police officers
are they orderly? Are they orderly?
Were throwing rocks.
Listen, if they are not orderly, they don't need to assemble. It's just that simple. Now, listen. The question here is, how will they enforce this? Well, the big universities usually have their own police. They have their own police department. Liberia, I don't think the University of Liberia has a police department. But now that
they do. You have the UL police. They were during the riot, during the violence, they were there.
The UL got a police?
We saw them in their red t-shirt, UL police.
Oh, okay. I didn't know whether the University of Liberia has a police. I don't know how large is the police force, but if they have a semblance of police security on staff, I think they have the right to patrol the campus, make sure that the people don't assemble, that none of these violations are done, and that it has gained national attention. I think the Justice Minister is involved, the police department is involved to make sure that peace is brought onto the campus. So I think they will be able to handle that. I don't think this is about who's right and who's wrong. It's a matter of law.
But I also want to ask John, if this, and I think Sam Wallow is alluding to that, I was going to come to that. If when you look, and one of the reasons why I also don't agree with the president's reaction or his letter is because if you're saying because of political parties or because of clubs activism, why suspend classes? Why suffer other innocent people? Why do that? Why not say no more soup meeting on campus, no clubs meeting on campus? Why close down classes? Why stop it?
You mean on the 13 classes are not suspended as political activities?
Political to another classes.
So what's the thing? For now, there has not been any classes. There's been no classes on campus yesterday or today.
Well, I mean, I'm dealing with the letter. The letter does not say that school is
And
canceled.
Mr. Gayman, that's exactly what I was talking about, right? Because how this is determined is there should be no political solidarity marches. Granted, but can the gospel, or when I was at the university for a short time, I was part of the Great Commission movement. Christian group, religious group.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Martin Luther King's speeches, they were all sermons. So how are they going to be able to even distinguish political marches from a religious message, or just doing something, right? Political gathering. People can come together in the name of a church, right? And still preach messages. So that's why I was asking you the wearing of symbols and emblems. So you don't even have to be in student political party t-shirt. So how does this thing address the situation?
Well, it does, because we are now on the same accord, because I know these commissions will include student representatives. It will include government officials. It will include academia. So they are all going to get to the round table, and it will be solution oriented. It's not going to be power play. So they're going to find out what is happening, what can we do to resolve this, and they're going to hear from everybody. So it is not a draconian thing from the student or from the government. It is how do we coexist and make sure that this thing benefits everybody. And I think it's going to work out fine. I trust the system. I trust the process. I think the young folks there, they want to go to school. Remember, according to the Sioux people, they said there are about 25,000 students in the university system. And the Sioux is just a minute part of it. And the pros, the two groups, they are just a small group of the student body. Great. So for the sake of the majority of the students, I think they will work it out.
Mr. Kromah, first of all, in any situation, you must identify what the problem is before you try to solve it.
That's correct.
In this case, pending investigation, what the university is saying, they have identified that political activity that's responsible, and so they are banning it. Do you think the authorities adequately diagnose the problem to provide this solution?
No, I don't think the political activity is the cause of the problem, because from the get-go, from the time the university was established, there have been political activity on the university campus. And there are historical events that have taken place on that campus where students actually either lost their life, they got massively wounded, some people, lost their limb. All of those, there's a deep history of violent activity with the government on the University of Liberia campus. I did not attend the University of Liberia, but I've read history about some of the things that have happened on the University of Liberia campus. There is something that the university must do. Though other university closed, because I guess he was feeling a little threatened by university students as well. Soldiers have gone on university campus doing dole time, doing child stealer time, and even during the Ellen Johnson administration, police people went on University of Liberia campus. We are administration. Police have gone on University of Liberia campus, and students have gotten wounded. So there's a long history of activities, but the University of Liberia faculty and the leadership must understand that the students have the right. The students are Liberians as much as they are university students as well. So if the students are paying attention to what is happening in the public sphere and they want to participate, they should be allowed to participate. On the University of Liberia campus, there has to be some sort of guideline. The way it is right now, it seems like it's a political playing ground for political parties. CDC people want to make sure that they don't want in charge of the university students. Some of the opposition political parties want to be sure that they are the ones that are in charge of the University of Liberia students. And so there is a political power play that is happening at the university. When you see Mr. Gayman here saying how he wants to give credit to Akaro's grade because of this, it's that political power play that is happening. And that is posing danger I think the last show I was on here, or 2 shows back, I was saying that these political parties have militarized the young people in the country. It is a fact. It is a known fact that the young people are militarized. Both parties.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Absolutely.
Good. And I'm glad that you agree with me. So the fact that these political parties have militarized these young people, the young people are looking for a space to be able to get known in the public now about what is happening on the national front. When you go on that kind of engagement, you get injured. All the radio stations carry your name. People in the diaspora, all these talk shows, they talk about they talk about Sisulu when Sisulu got injured. So people want to find themselves in that same situation because they know there will be so many people calling. All the political leaders will call. Everybody will try to sympathize or try to be on your side because you are the one that is a victim at this particular point. So we have not been able to juxtapose between what is happening at the university, make it an academic institution. At the same time, let the young people do what they have to do as far as what is happening on the national front. But at the same time, safeguard the university from the political interference of political parties like the CDC that we've always seen them do.
But Mr. Kromah, where do we draw the line? I mean, where do we come to the point of stopping the violence some on campus? Sometimes the students also are in the wrong. How do we stop it?
So it starts with accountability, or Dennis. It starts with accountability. If you have a strong University of Liberia administrator who understands how to administer student activity, believe it or not, some of these things will stop. You have to be able to hold everybody accountable, no matter how influential who you are. You have to hold everybody accountable. The late Michael Francis and Sheikh Ahmad, those people, no matter how powerful you are, they held these leaders accountable. Today, we mesmerize with these people. We go to bed with them, come back tomorrow and say, I can't speak well because my best friend's son over there. If I sustain him right now, the entire church or the entire mosque will come and they will talk about how the relationship we have. And so let's give him a pass. We know at one point, one of these former assistant minister or current assistant minister in the CDC administration got suspended from the University of Liberia campus because of behavior that were unbecoming. And the university got chastised by CDC because that young man was suspended from the school, and they demanded that the students should go back. As soon as the election happened in 2017, turnover, and we became president, boom, students back in the University of Liberia. How do we fix a system like that? It's difficult because our leaders don't have the flexibility to say, listen, whatever you did is wrong, and we stand with the university because this is the right thing to do for our country or the right thing to do for our society. Unless we hold people accountable at all levels, nothing's going to happen. It'll be, just be sugar on the icing or icing on the cake, whatever they call it.
Glendy, how do we solve this? So we talk about the militarization of the youth. Almost every political party has their own militant or militia group, and somehow you want to call it, right? And these people can do anything. I mean, I go on, we call our place Sino Forum, and it looks like every politician in Sino has a militant, and they are at it 24/7, even if it costs them to throw punches. So that's one point. We also have what we call the Zogo crisis, where, this incubator of people talks that you can use for any reason, depending on how much you have. We saw Mr. Gray going with people behind him. Anybody with some dollars can have their own group. So these are all factors that we're looking at. And then with the university, which is an extension of people in the community, they are not different, right? How do we solve this problem?
It's going to be a difficult thing, Dennis. It's like, and it all starts with the right leadership, the right people in the right positions. So it's like somebody was saying here this evening, the justice minister. You see Gray, could it have stopped from there? Could he have been stopped from entering the university campus, seeing him marching with men coming? Where does it start? Where does it end? When does leadership come in? That we have a government here where since the crisis, President Weah has not spoken. He has said nothing.
Of course he has spoken.
I have heard him say nothing about the crisis.
The president spoke through the Ministry of...
I've heard him say nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Don't interrupt, please.
Huh? We're talking about crisis. We're talking about the university. We're talking about the university that he is proud of. The university
the president is not in the country. He left.
The president was in the country for the situation. He was here. He left today. He was in the country. He has said nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Could he have condemned Gray? Could he have said something that we were hearing that, oh, he told him to stop? We don't know what he told him. We don't know. We're just hearing hearsay. And the people, it's almost like people are so emboldened to
Glendy,
do
is that this university the man got a PhD from?
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
PhD to the
Mr. Kromah, don't interrupt.
Mr. Jar.
No, Mr. Gayman, I'm coming to you because there's no idea.
I don't know how we're going to solve it.
There's no idea of banning student politics. It's not new. It did not start with we are.
No,
right?
it didn't.
So, I had the pictures there. This was 1984, the move or remove story. It says several treated at hospital for injuries. We also saw that student leader, I think the one that the late Wood Tapir, I think Samuel Sagbatu is late, if I believe. And now Dr. Dubanyan, they were suspended, expelled, not even suspended.
Yes.
2019, the university politics was banned under President Weah because ahead of June 7 protests, we have politics banned. So this keep happening, right? It's back and forth, and it has never resolved the situation. Why do you think this time around is going to address the situation?
And it will not, because even the students are more upset now. It's not going to. Because we have not learned from history. We have not learned how to resolve it. We have not learned to say, let's engage these students. Let's talk to them. Why is it that President Weah is not able to talk to his citizens freely? Why is it that he's unable to engage them?
Right. I was thinking, I was expecting that this Sunday he is sermon, but he left. So we
he
have
Mr. Jar. Mr. Jar.
Yeah.
I think it would behoove you to post a picture of the April 12, April 14 riot. That
you mean on the university campus?
The 1979 also.
79?
We're talking about university campus.
What happened 1979 at the University of Liberia?
Nothing happened there.
So
nothing happened there. I'll let you tell you that
listen to this. So there were no issue on the university campus prior to 1980.
No, they have been. Okay, I think you are reading from Tobasi. Tobasi is not saying the truth. Don't.
No, listen to this. Listen to this. Are you telling me, Dennis Jar, as an institution, are you telling me, I know you don't have the facts here, so you can't speak to it. Are you telling me that the University of Liberia began an agitation state starting with 1980?
That's not what he's saying.
I'm asking Mr. Dennis Jar, because
what's your point? Because I'm saying
I want you to tell the audience that you don't have that at this point.
No, I was like, yeah, man, you can come on the show and ask the man for information. You're supposed to be abreast with the information.
I just told you, and you're telling me it was lying.
You don't have it. You're assuming. No, you're assuming. You don't have any problem.
Hold on, Mr. Kromah. Mr. Gayman, what I'm saying is this practice of university and students' politics is historical. It has been happening, and banning student politics has not been able to address the situation. That's my point.
Okay, now listen to this. The students everywhere else have, like you said, one of the issues that we need to address. And I know Ms. Junius, she's opposition, so is Mr. Kromah here. But to say that the president had not spoken, the president is not an individual. The president represents the state, and the state has an arm that speaks to the nation. That's the man they call Mr. The Minister of Information. At the McCarthy, at the event, the man spoke on the issues pertaining to the country. You see, if you're not following these things,
and say what? And say what?
But
let you who any say.
Hold on, Glendy. Give Mr. Gayman a chance.
Mr. Jai, I think to be honest, I think Mr. Kromah was trying to be professional. Then later on, then he will gravitate into politics here and there. But we actually have to go back to why, for me, recently, why all the political parties and politicians.
Mr. Gayman, you have not addressed my question.
No, I'm coming to you. I will address it.
Okay.
I'm saying the root cause here is we should find out why everybody is now, every child you talk to in Liberia, they're calling themselves militant. They're calling them militant. They're calling their body comrade and militant. And so we are saying if we are going to resolve the issue, we have to have a national dialogue that brings together all the stakeholders, including churches and mosques and politicians. Because, I mean, there's no way you can go where all people calling themselves CDC militant, CPP militant, or Nyoblikanga militant, or Jerome Gayman militant, but have a few dollars of some power there. So I think for us to resolve this issue, we need to have a national dialogue like they have in some of these countries. We cannot say by placing blame on somebody, by saying the students are wrong or the government is wrong, will resolve this issue. We have to get to the bottom of it. And I think we should begin with our self-evaluation. Why is it that everybody is a militant in the country? Because like you say, the university is a cosmopolitan, is a conglomeration of our society. So if you have a military society, you're going to have a military school, you're going to have a military university. Even in the churches, you're going to have militants in the churches. So we have to actually go back to basics and see that we need to have this particular conversation.
Right. And earlier at 6 p.m. on the literary hour, Professor K. Moses Nawe and the scholar Jackie, they talk about what is a university, what's the purpose of the university, and what we're supposed to be doing, because we always tell the students, hey, pay attention to your lessons. And are we talking about students sent lab, student the library? These here, when I went to college here, we have access to these online libraries, right? Do we have these things? Are students occupied enough to be able to refrain from other activities? So with all these that we have stated, Mr. Gayman, that's the point I'm coming to. Don't you think that this banning student politics, suspending here and there, does not address the issue, because there are underlying factors that they are trying to ignore? And because of that, over and over, banning student politics since the 1980s has not resolved the situation. Will you agree?
Well, you know what, this is one of the reasons we say when we need, like we say in this country, when the folks want to talk about the black and white issues, they say, no, you're being divisive. Don't talk about this, that's race. You want to be a racist. In Liberia, we have inequality and social stratification. We have that issue that brought us to where we are. Those issues has to be discussed. And people like Kromah and other people who have vested interest and knowledge in those areas have to be brought to the table for us to resolve the actual issue here is inequality and social stratification.
I agree.
My great-grandparents will tell you that some of the land that are now prime pieces of property that are owned by some of the elites in Monrovia were taken away from some of our folks. Absolutely. And they are now benefiting from it. And we are squatters on our own land. Those conversations need to be had. This is the root of the problem, but nobody want to talk. When you talk about
you are here. First time I got to clap for you, Mr. Gayman.
Hold on, Mr. Kromah. Let me tell you what my friend from County told me one time. No,
for once I agree with you, Mr. Gayman.
He said when the Christian man say he see the moon, don't start clapping and say the person well. Wait until they start saying other moon. I see the second moon, the third moon, the fourth moon.
And you know that, Gayman, you're not gonna be clap for you like that.
See 50 pieces of moon, and you say, "Oh no, like this is
So, Mr. Gayman, so the bottom line is you are so now. If you misdiagnose the issue, like the president of the university has done, with this knee-jerk banning or suspension of student politics, that would not address the issue. Can we agree on that?
No, but listen, I like the approach where he said they are putting together committees. We are hoping that these people will be.
But he ruled already.
No, he didn't rule. The rule is for us to get to this. We cannot have a dialogue while we are fighting at each other throwing rocks. Let's suspend this fight. Let's go.
You can call for that. Just like even war situation. You say we are going for peace talk. Everybody lay down your arms. Let's go and have peace talk.
That's correct.
Right, but if you are saying,
and this is it here.
No,
this is a suspension, temporary suspension until the investigation can be concluded. And I'm hoping that we
gotta move.
Yeah,
hold on, Kromah. Let Glendy make the first point.
I always, I love to always come back after Mr. Gayman because sometimes he can just say something with no facts. There is no official statement about the LU incident from the Ministry of Information. The only statement that's on the Ministry of Information site is the statement that was issued by the Justice Ministry to asking the IG to investigate. That is the only statement that's there. There's no other statement.
Listen,
so we are not listening. No.
Hold on, Mr.
There is no other statement. The only statement for immediate release from the Ministry of Information is the one that the Information Minister Lechiwu Rennie posted on March 16th.
What was that?
The incident occurred on March 13th.
Yes, what did the minister say?
He said Justice Minister Frank Musa Dean.
He doesn't know. Read it.
Asked me, yes.
Go ahead, read it because if I read it, you will say that loud.
No, I'm reading it.
Go ahead, read it.
I just want to make one quick point. I mean,
there is nowhere in the statement that we are named as mentioned. Nowhere.
If the Minister of Information does not mention
it's just 2 paragraphs. It says,
Glendy, we got your point.
Yeah,
the Minister
Jerome has that same
listen to the first time so he can create another reason to debate. So don't read that thing.
You see this?
But the point I'm making here, Dennis, is that the thing Mr. Gayman said is very important. We need to pay attention to it. I think when the war ended, we did not actually invest in the rudiments of trying to actually reorganize the state. Because one of the reasons we went to war is because of all this inequality and all these social issues we had. We came back from the conflict. We did not go back to say, okay, let's fix these things. These things are actually wrong. We attempted them, but we did not actually fix them. And what we're having now is what is unfolding right before our eyes. Imagine what Martin Colley is doing with these fake education that people have and the teaching at these different universities. Just think about that for 1 second, Dennis. You have people with false credentials. They are teaching at these universities.
Yes.
So these people don't even have the capacity. We're putting accountability on the students, but we're not putting accountability on the people that are actually impacting knowledge into these students. So how about those people that are sitting in front of the classroom? The Commission on Higher Education have never said, okay, the thing Martin Colley now do, he now put more than 10 people need. Oh, this is very important issue. Let's summon all the education credentials of all these professors and all these school administrators. Let's see what they have. So that when we look at them, we know, okay, you actually have a actual qualified degree for you to stand in front of students to teach. And if you don't fix that, the products that will come out of these schools will be as bad as anybody you can think of. Then when Dennis, your son leave from here or your daughter leave from here, and go back to Liberia, she becomes a threat to those people that are unprepared for the actual challenge that the country is going to face in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate. We're talking about the ban or the suspension of student politics on all campuses of the University of Liberia. Our second issue here is Ambassador McCarthy, Michael McCarthy. He made a statement. Remember, a year ago on March 15, he wrote an op-ed, "What will J.J. Roberts do?" Mr. McCarthy is back and he's talking again. This time he said a lot of things, right? But we are going to focus on what he said about people in the diaspora. Not that the other things are not important, but there's something I want us to discuss here. So let's read what he said. He said, first, in both our US-funded media training and our messaging to the press, we spent a lot of time emphasizing responsible journalism, that with freedom of expression comes an obligation to verify facts and not to inflame passions without first doing due diligence. Today, I'm ashamed to tell you that the most irresponsible controversies emerged in Liberia's media over the past months have originated from the United States. While responsible critical observation from the Liberian diaspora can be healthy, some cowardly media personalities and political personalities have intentionally disseminated rumors or misinformation into Liberia's political environment from the safety of their studios and offices in the United States. These people are motivated by disruption and a desire to break down trust in the Liberian institutions. They don't care what damage they cause, and when questioned by law enforcement, they do not have evidence to back up their claims. Unfortunately, they take advantage of America's First Amendment rights to spread rumors and stir up trouble in your country. That's from Ambassador Michael McCarthy. And we've discussed this on other platforms, and we've been discussing this even here. But let me get your initial reaction to that piece of the ambassador's statement. Let me start with Mr. Kromah.
Dennis, I found the ambassador's statement very troubling. I'm not finding it troubling because I'm sitting in America. I find it troubling because here's my reason. I think the ambassador is ignoring the fact that the Liberian state, and I'm putting it in quote, the Liberian state is a making of the global north, Europe, America, and all these places. Statehood is not an African thing. It's actually something, it's an idea that was imposed on African nations. So if you have folks in the diaspora, the only group that if you institutionalize them that can hold their leaders accountable is the folks that are in the diaspora, because we don't have a lot that we can commit ourselves to the government for. The government can buy you and I easily, because at least we have small little way that we can go and make, $15 here, $20 there, and we can survive. So one way for us to hold our government accountable is through these mediums. I do share some of the sentiment. To be honest with you, I have a problem with some of the people that are online spewing garbage. I've listened to so many of them, and I know that some of the things they say can actually create conflict back home or create, stability. And they don't have some of the facts, but they're able to sit in their comfort and talk rubbish. But there is some balance to it. So the ambassador can't just, put out a statement, almost like a sweeping statement against people in the diaspora. Here you are, Dennis. You've created a platform where Mr. Gayman, myself, Glendy, we can come here and sit down and talk. There are different views expressed here. Even though people have their own personal issues with me or with Glendy or with Mr. Gayman, but we are able to have this conversation about our country in a way that it makes sense. So he should be able to acknowledge that some of the good things that are coming from the diaspora also is actually impacting what is happening on the ground, and not just, use a broad brush and just sweep everybody under the carpet and say, all of you guys over there creating all this problem for us in this country here. Because, to be honest, the diaspora have actually contributed to plenty of conflicts in Liberia. Any conflict, in fact, that we can go back into history in Liberia has come from the diaspora. That is the fact. But he should also acknowledge that we've done some, good things also from the diaspora. When Ebola hit, the first group of people that faced the Ebola crisis head on were folks from the diaspora. They went on straight into the conflict, and they helped to support the communities there. So you can't just take a broad brush and just throw everybody in that one blanket and just put everybody wrappers and throw us away. I thought it was unfair. You should have acknowledged some of the good things.
Thank you. Mr. Gayman.
Well, like I said, we have been saying this. When we tell folks, it has to be in the context of, even if you're not in an academic setting, you have to be reasonable enough that when you're making an argument, that at some point it will make sense. When you have someone who says he's a lawyer, where he still considers himself counselor when he's in the United States, which is not, because he's not a counselor here. He has never passed the bar exam. He's not a lawyer yet, so he's not a counselor. He's only Jerome Verdier. When you sit on a platform and say, and name names.
Mr. Gayman, let me interrupt. So, so if you got a PhD in Liberia, you are a doctor, but when you come to America, you won't be doctor. That's what you're saying.
When you have a PhD, you do not need license to teach here. If you are a lawyer or a medical doctor, yes, you have the right to have a board exam. So those are different contexts. But when you say the mayor sent people to the home and they went there not to kill, not to loot, not to steal, but to sodomize the woman. I mean, who in their right mind with a title would say stuff like that? Then in the same breath, you say the president sodomized the 3 missing boys to death. I mean, you say these kinds of stuff. Then on the other platform, Mr. Costa was saying the election commissioner should not be trusted because all she does is lie down on her back and open her leg to the president. And those are terrible things that the mayor is talking about, that you're trying to undermine the institution in which they have invested heavily. Then you find on the same spoon talk, they brought a young man who says the entire census that the international community is involved with is bogus and nobody should rely on it. It is fake. And you could see that evidence today at the Supreme Court. The CPP filed for the full branch of the government, the Supreme Court, based on that the census is bogus, the census is not reliable. So all the institutions that these people, that we are all trying to build, people in the United States are tearing it down. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to flame to bring chaos. And I tell you about
Mr. Gayman, first of all, if the language is so obscene, please don't repeat it.
Well, it makes sense. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. But people have to understand the gravity to which our nation has been dropped. Right. I'm talking about so low that the ambassador said, I am so ashamed. Himself said, he said, I am ashamed. And not only that, but they are cowards.
Right. And do you think that was his place?
Well, listen to this. You see, when we've been talking this thing here, and I think we have said it, I think Glendy and Kromah, you will agree with me, when we talk about independent state, the last time, every time there is a little issue, Darius Dillon, Nyobli Kanga, and 10 senators marched to the U.S. Embassy and told them to do something about what their displeasure. Everybody in Liberia, when something goes wrong, instead of going to the state, your representative, your elder, your churches, your mosque, they go to the embassy. So that means basically you have disarmed yourself. You are asking the U.S. embassy to do everything for you. So when they take advantage of it and disarm you and say, well, say you have no power, we are going to run your state for you because you asked us to do so. Then we cannot complain now and say, well, you got too much power here. We asked them. They didn't ask. The U.S. embassy have never gone to the Justice Ministry, never gone to our executive mansion. We have gone to them and said, listen, can you, in fact, there was a movement here that was saying that the United States should actually take us into stewardship. I think you saw that. So this is who we are.
Yes, I was asking for your opinion, not really what other people, unless you are saying other people are making you to think that way. So I was only asking what you thought this was the ambassador's place.
Yes, I think so.
All right.
Like we say in this country, he who pays the piper calls the tune. If he pays all the bills and you ask him to make all the calls, then he make the calls. And if he plays the wrong tone, don't be mad.
Glendy.
That's the definition of colonialism, Mr. Gayman.
That's what we are doing. We got to fight it.
Okay.
But you say you are okay with it because we brought it on ourselves.
Our fighting is that we have to learn to use our own institution to resolve our issues. If we cannot, Mr. Kromah is here. He trained. He can resolve issues. We are not using him and his institution. Instead, we are going to the U.S. Embassy every day to get petition to ask them to resolve our. I mean, some of the more minute issues we go to the embassy to have it resolved. So the people we disarm ourselves.
Thank you. Let me bring in Glendy. Glendy, unmute yourself, please.
Let's start from Mr. Gayman.
No, let me start from the U.S. Start from the ambassador. What you make of what he said? Then you.
So I think was it his place? I don't think so, but he has a right to his opinion. Secondly, was his statement balanced? I don't think so. I think it was unbalanced because he only took out a few group of people and capitalized on them. So the statement, in my opinion, don't think it was his place, but he can comment on whatever he likes. But if he's going to comment in such a way, then he also cannot just take out the people in the diaspora, whoever it may be, and just query them when there are people within Monrovia, in Liberia, that carry false stories. And this is what links me to Mr. Gayman. Mr. Gayman is here calling other people names, saying stuff. There are seditionists, Chidaha, who say all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not just one-sided. It's just not one group of persons. So how am I to interpret now that the ambassador was only talking to this group of people and not everybody else that's here? The only thing I see is that if you want to make such a statement, then you have to do all that you can to make it as general as possible so that you don't alienate one group of people. And I think in his statement, that is what he did. And I think he caused more chaos than resolving whatever his queries were, because now as it is, he left room for us to make assumptions on who is saying what. I can say Focus on Africa doesn't do that because I'm a part and I see what they do. But am I in his mind to think he wasn't talking to Focus? It could have been a guest like Gayman. It could have been Gayman on here saying everything positive about we as government. That could have been something he spoke about. So I don't think it was his place. But I'm okay with the fact that he has a right to speak on what he wants to. Right. But I would also hope that he will be balanced in his statements because it has the propensity to alienate other people. And also not to just go and stand and stick out the people in the diaspora as being the one who's causing chaos when there are news people within Liberia who cause chaos all the time.
Do you think a Liberian ambassador to the United States or an Ivorian ambassador or Ghanaian ambassador could say stuff like that about the United States, let's say use or the Capitol riot, or talk against, talk about the media because they listen to people like Sean Hannity, Carlson, and all those other far-right media pundits? Do you think any other country, especially from Africa, Liberia specifically, can do that in the United States?
No. I love that you asked that question. It's such a good question, Dennis. I seriously doubt that they will ever do that because the community that they work in does not allow for them to do that. They will be seriously uncomfortable to condemn anything American. But here it is now. We are here and no one is condemning, even if they feel bad about what the ambassador said. What we're doing now is, like Gayman, we're taking that piece of what he said. We've now taken what he has said to identify news people in the diaspora and say, oh, he was talking to them. He wasn't talking to me. I don't think any other country will be free to do that without being condemned. I don't think they will be able to do that.
I want to speak to that question, Bennett. I think it's a very, very good question.
I want Mr. Gayman to speak to that first before you. Mr. Gayman, we have, even in the liberal media landscape here, we have pundits. We have people who they will tell you to say, hey, I'm just doing this because I'm a propagandist. So we know those people. and the ambassador should know them. Also in the United States, we have the Sean Hannity, we have the Rod Limbaugh, and all these different people. So people don't even include them when they talk about media personalities because they know who they are, right? So the same question to you: could any African diplomat say the same thing about the United States?
No, because the United States do not go to the Liberian embassy to say, come and solve our issue. They don't disarm themselves. We do. So, I mean, what we are saying here is, if you tell folks that you are worth 10 cents, they will buy you for 10 cents. You don't go. We are the ones who are actually camping.
Right. Is President Weah doing that too to make himself, or President Sully, when we look at the former ambassador Linda Greenfield? So are you saying also the presidents like President Weah, they go crawl into these people? Is that why?
But listen, you heard, and this is my president, President Weah. You heard him say, "America is our number one friend, like it or not." I think you might heard. I'm not quoting him directly, but he was so emphatic. Okay, that
he was talking about the former ambassador. He said, "You didn't vote for where United States voting. You don't know diplomacy. I fire him."
Right,
Louis Brown.
Right,
yes,
Louis Brown. So this is what we are talking about. These people, it looks like, and this been going on from time immemorial. You have to kiss the ring of the Lord. You have to come over here and you have to do. And if you listen to Charles Taylor, he made it clear. He says, my only mistake was that I was not basically not directly, but I was not in bed with Washington. That was according to him, it was the biggest mistake he ever made. So if I were listening to Charles Taylor, and I have listened to the Talbot family and people from the old regime, they said they robbed the United States the wrong way, and that's what happened. So it could be possible. We know this. You don't have your own education system. You don't have your own electrical system. You don't have anything. You depend on everything. 99% of everything. So what I say? Hey, might make right. If I'm that powerful, if I give you everything, I might be right to tell you whatever I want to tell you because, hey, you are worth nothing. So,
thank you, Mr. Kromah. Quickly, because I want to bring another side here, because we have to do some house cleaning here.
Yeah, I think I share the same view of Mr. Gayman on this one also. I think
if you cook yourself in a buttercup, they dish you up with broomstick. Is that what
exactly? There is a dependency in Liberia that is causing anybody to say anything about Liberia.
Who caused the dependency? Are they corporates?
Before this ambassador even spoke about diaspora folks like this in the past. Remember the EU ambassador went to Liberia and said Monrovia is the most dirtiest city in the world. And nobody shook, nothing moved.
Nothing.
So people have sized up the Liberian intelligentsia. We're not plenty. We are a small group of people. And at the end of the day, most of us tend to lean towards a political party against the other. And so because that space is not so objective, you can have anybody can come in the space and say what they want to say and go scot-free and nothing's going to happen. It's just the way it is. We have a very small intelligentsia, and so people can, size us up and just, speak out what they want to say and they will go scot-free. Because Mr. Gayman will say, well, the ambassador is right on this one here because the opposition people that don't create a problem for us. Look at Costa there. Look at Jerome there. But when the EU ambassador went to Monrovia and said Monrovia is the dirtiest city, we say, oh, that's true. Look at the city mayor not doing anything, passing around, talking, playing politics. He's be cleaning the city. So you see, the people know that we take side. You're not saying no. Don't talk about our country like this. In fact, Liberia is a sovereign country. Because they know we're not do that, we always lean towards them. They tend to take their positions on it.
So before I bring in our callers here, let's do some house cleaning. Forget the president, forget the messenger, right? And this is because sometimes you are home, your kid is behaving bad, you prefer chastising your own kid than someone coming from outside, or you prefer talking to them than somebody coming from outside and say this, you get angry, right? So let's assume this was not said by the U.S. ambassador. Let's look at the statement without even thinking about the messenger. Mm-hmm. Is it true? How responsible are the media institutions here and media personalities and politicians? And to what extent are they causing problems in Liberia? Just during the recent incident on the UL campus, there was a body, and they put the name on it and all that, only to find out that this body came from 2016.
2016.
And then I approached the person who posted it, and he said, "Oh, this was pseudo propaganda." So, to what extent institutions in the United States, platforms like this one, are liable or capable of sowing seeds of discord and causing, doing some dangerous propaganda? Mr. Gayman, let me start with you, and if possible, call names if you can.
Yeah, it is very dangerous because I, for one, I like to speak in a historical context because I have been here a little longer than most of you. I know in my household, my uncle Tom was with you when they were planning the war, okay? When they were planning the war, when they formed the ACDL, I was there when the whole formation was going on. So I can tell you for the fact that, yes, we here. And then recently, let's talk about Costa. Costa said, based on what Jerome Verde and everybody said, he said, somebody has to kill Jefferson Koji or he will continue to kill. Can you imagine somebody sitting here saying something like that? Someone who is beholding and believes in what he says, who have done something to this man because Costa have said it that if we don't get rid of this guy, he will continue to kill. So these are the things that we are talking. We talk about we are not talking about focus on Liberia, because focus on Liberia, as much as I disagree with you on almost everything, you are like the public radio, the NPR of Liberian media. You have facts. You ask tough questions. I know you're a little biased against this administration, but you have done an excellent job. So I cannot put you in a category with the convicted Spoon or the other folks. They are nowhere near you. Nowhere near you. But I'm saying this the same way.
Spoon is not convicted, Mr. Gayman. Spoon is not convicted.
Well, some people say he's indicted.
You sound like Trump.
Yeah, when you look at it,
exactly.
Listen to this. When you look at the federal government, it says the federal government, their success rate is 98.6%. That means your chances of winning is almost 0.004. So we can say he going to the gallows, but thank you for the correction. So I'm saying that when people say these kinds of stuff, there are a lot of people who got like Costa, you like him or not, he has a lot of following in Liberia, a lot of young folks. And when someone says, if we don't get rid of Jefferson, he will continue to kill. Those are the things that they are talking about. You can't say those kinds of stuff because you just don't know who is at the other end. I mean, literally take that and do it. So we have our own responsibilities too. Right. It's another thing to say my candidate is the best and all of that, because that's what you're supposed to do. But when you cross the line now and say we got to eliminate the other person in this, it's not good for us.
And Glendy, there are some people when you listen to them, you think, Liberia is on fire, that the sky is falling, right? And these people, if they could have a disclaimer to say, hey, I'm a propagandist, I'm doing this, but some are doing this seriously in the name of advocacy or standing up for what is right. That's dangerous.
Yeah. I think even in the midst of our differences and us not being, or me not being a sedition or not being a UPS or ANC, we still should find some room of being civil and being able to speak truth to power. Now, our opinions may matter. We may disagree on some issues, but we also have to be careful with the messages that we're sending, because some people are reliant. Like, for example, I don't think anybody from UP is going to watch Jidaha. And you think Jidaha is balanced? Even watching Mr. Gayman here on this show or on other show that he's a part of, you think he's balanced? Sometimes our presentation, we ought to be very cautious and be careful because we can be promoting the wrong thing. But I also want to say that the ambassador statements were not wrong. They were correct. There are some people who inflame stuff. There are people who create stories. There are people who have no proof, and they say these things. I think we're concerned, and someone posted in the feed is like, so I hope that when the ambassador goes now and criticizes, we will not jump on his side now for those who are against. Like I said, he has a right to his opinion. He can say whatever he wants to say. I just think for in diplomacy or wherever he is and what he has an opinion about, I will hope that he will become general. And if he cannot be general in his comments, then be specific. He knows those people. So he should be able to say, this is this and the other. Everybody runs to the American embassy, even the people in the government.
Right. Including certain senators. Mr. Kromah, sometimes, especially those of us in the news or this media business, clearly there are people who tell you, hey, I'm not doing any news here. In fact, pay this money or send this cash up to me. I'm doing a show. There are some people. I had a situation where this guy say, hey, my wife, you send message, you inbox my wife XYZ. They say, yes, I did. I mean, this it's not harmful. He said, well, there's something happening. If you don't do this, I'm going to call Prophet Key. Right? So these things are, and we all, sit and watch it maybe for entertainment purposes. So this kind of destructive news and reporting and all that people say, how come people, most of us,
it's not entertainment purpose. Please don't misconceive it as entertainment. I keep saying that you guys are taking this thing for granted. There are so many angry people in Liberia. There are so many in the diaspora, in Liberia, everywhere. Liberians are still angry, and they are looking for a space or something appetizing that can appeal to why they are angry. And so when you see someone like Prophet Key, for example, attacking someone who they are angry with, they get excited. It excites them, and they will do whatever for this guy to keep going the way he's going, right? And when somebody like Costa, for example, the way he goes about things, some of our closest friends, some of our friends inside the opposition admire Costa so much. And I say, but guys, this is dangerous for the country. How can we be, promoting such an act? Costa and I have had our differences for so long just because of some of these values. Don't subscribe to these values. I feel we have to be Liberians before we are partisans. Unless we actually, and it's difficult to do it now because, like I said, we did not fix the rudiments of the cause of the conflict. We are only going along because nobody's shooting guns. So we're just rolling things over. Younger generations are assuming some of the anger that our parents brought, our big brothers brought, they transfer it to them. They just said they're angry. If they hear somebody need a certain way, they're angry with that person. If this person is working government, you're angry. If you work for government, everybody work for government, you're corrupt. Everybody that, those kinds of things. And they are dangerous for any society. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to hold people accountable. I'm a big fan of accountability. But there's a limit. You can't, get on the platform and start insulting everybody that is the president or, public officials. You don't insult them. As much as I disagree with President Weah, he's my president. I have to accept that fact that he's my president for 6 years. And if he gets re-elected, so be it. He's going to be my president. I have to live with that. I'm not a fan of President Weah, but if that's what the majority wants, we are obligated to, to accept that. But when you start to, make these violent and threatening statements, remember now, the person that you want, when the person gets into power, then the other people will reverse the same thing to you. And you don't want that kind of thing for yourself. That's the reason why I don't even like the way Yeka Koloba go about the way he does it. Because Yeka is not different from what, Akara's Great did when President Salif was president. The same thing Akara's Great did is the same thing Yeka Koloba is doing now while President Weah is there. We can't keep going in that kind of political route and within the country is going to get better. It's not going to get better. How you stay in the street as a public official and insult the sitting president of the country in a demeaning way like that? It's okay to disagree, but don't insult the man. It's unfair. Just like we don't want anybody to insult you, don't be insulting the president like that. It's unfair. But the society has not grappled with the vestiges of the past. Unless we fix that, we'll keep having the issues that we're having, Dennis.
Thank you. In case you were just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate, and we are talking about two important issues here: the ban or the suspension of student politics on all campuses of the university, and Ambassador McCarthy's criticism of Liberians in the diaspora. Let's bring our callers. The first caller here is our friend, Mr. Evans Morris. Mr. Morris, you are live. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jai, and hello to your panelists tonight. I think this whole thing with the ambassador is a classic case of if the shoes fit you, wear it. You know, like Mr. Gayman rightfully said, the shoe doesn't fit a platform like FOL, so it's not even something that you guys should worry about. But when I hear people saying that it's not the ambassador's place to make these comments, they're dead wrong. Because one of his current responsibilities in Liberia as an ambassador is to make sure that the relationship between America and Liberia is good. The perception of Liberians towards America is positive. So if we have that perception that, you know, we had America is sitting down there and letting Liberians spew hatred or spew, you know, things that would cause, you know, disturbance in the country, and America is doing nothing, then they're not a true friend of Liberia. So I think he's doing his job by trying to quell, you know, Liberians, people who support the CDC or people who like truth, trying to quell them down by telling them that the United States are looking into these allegations. That's why he said law enforcement agency, law enforcement people went and talked to these people, and they had no information. So let's not forget, this man is not just speaking out of the blue. He's an ambassador. So they contacted him and let him know that, well, there's nothing there. This is a nothing burger. There's no information. There's no evidence to substantiate what this man was saying. So he went out there publicly to make it clear that the thing, because he's merely talking about Spoon TV. You know, Spoon is a big platform in Liberia, and a lot of people got, you know, roused by what he said on the platform, especially the one, we're not talking about it, especially with the 3 missing boys. I think you need to harp on that because that was a sensitive case. And for that man to say this, the president sodomized those boys to death. I think more so than even the Blora Mususka thing. People got really angry about that because he put the president directly into it. So I think he's doing his job. I'll have more to say, but I'll leave it there. And my last comment about the LU thing, I think Mr. Jai, yourself, you got to be a little bit balanced here. The university have their own rules. And once you're in the confines of the university, you must adhere to their rules. So if they come up and put something like a quick stop or a Band-Aid to solve the problem temporarily, we must respect it. They're an institution. They have the rights to make rules, and students are to adhere to those rules. So there's nothing wrong with it. I'll leave it there. Thank you for taking my call.
And what is not balanced about that? What I said?
No, you're kind of poking fun at the government a little bit. You know, we respect you. We like you on this platform.
No, because what I'm saying is we've had this.
We don't want to see a whole 3 people against one person. It's not fair to Mr. Gayman.
No, just say don't look at it like that about 3 against 1 or 5 against 1. Look at it objectively from your own viewpoint. We've had this banning student politics so many times, 100 plus times, right? It has not solved the situation. So we better go to the root cause. But thanks for your call.
Thank you.
The next caller here is 410 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
Good evening, Dennis. My name is Franklin Weller.
All right, Franklin, go ahead. Just turn that, whatever you're listening to, turn it off.
Okay, I'll turn it down, Dennis. Thank you. Good evening to the panelists. Can you please permit me to talk on the issue of the University of Liberia?
Sure. Go ahead.
Let's get to lay the premise first. What happened? First, we saw the sanctioned former Solicitor General who had stolen money from the government and the people of Liberia went on the university campus to garnish a brand new Hyundai yellow car. I don't know whether it was a taxi or so, in the face of the children. Remember, that's my alma mater do. And if you look at the dormitory or the facilities, the buildings are leaking. No good facility for girls to ease themselves. Some of them go behind the houses and things like that, or in the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second one, we saw this guy, I can't name it, how from Legis. I think he was involved with some money issue.
Right.
And
For the Solicitor General, did was say because you're hungry, I wanna eat.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Good.
Sure.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
let me bring it back. Let me bring it down to it.
Mm-hmm.
But Akaros Gray, I won't call him an honorable man. I won't, because I will be doing disservice to myself. Because no honorable man will act the way he acted. And also remember, he's a member of the board of trustees of the university. I work at that university. They will have everything. And so he said he was going for lunch. Now, the Capitol building is opposite the University of Liberia main campus. He could have taken his car, walk across as an quote-unquote an honorable man going to lunch with the students. But instead, he elected to go with armed bandits, parading with machetes and sticks and rocks, whereby the students were on their premises. Don't forget it, yes, he has freedom of movement, freedom of speech. He could go there and eat. But look at, he was carrying like 500 men. On that, when the university, Glendy knows, because I know her very well, she's like a small sister to me. And I know her mother, I know her father. But when the university was university, 500 students couldn't fit in the guest dining hall. Neither to say our student center or the cafeteria. Now, carrying 500 men, and he is called the general. Is that an honorable way of going? He instigated the situation. Let's call it spade a spade. And Mr. Gayman there sitting down. I'm not surprised at him. I do know it, where he comes from. He's been paid, and I hold that. I know that he's been giving. Don't cost me, Dennis. I know he gives you $100 every month, and he knows that where that money comes from. I know he plays with the game. But let me say this: I belong to the student unification.
Mr. Wheeler, do you have facts? Do you have facts about that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know, Dennis.
Okay.
I know, and you know.
No,
let's call it spade a spade.
No, I don't know.
I would say as it is. I know I have a fact, and he knows that. If he's a man to his word, let him deny that he doesn't give you $100 a month. If he deny it, I will give you $500 right now. I can send it to you.
Mr. Jenny Jack.
Hold on.
John, 1 minute. Sir, I deny it. Please send the money to Dennis Jar. You right?
Send the money right now.
Please send the money.
I thought he said he was getting paid from Nigeria.
FOL
is a non-profit. They can use the 500. Can you please send the 500 now?
Yeah, please.
This is a place where I drank from the fountain of knowledge, and I see a man like Akaros Gray going there to disgrace his own alma mater. It's painful and hurtful. And then Musa Dean, he and I and Anthony Kesselly, with Joseph Jala, who is now a senator, we all went to, we routed the poll August 22nd to say Doe. When Doe arrested Amos Sawyer, the late Dr. Amos Sawyer, and John Clay Kier. Now today, they can't speak. They can't talk, especially the other one. They decorated him with a red beret senator. They called Joseph Jala. I know him very well. Musa Dean, I know. But let me stop that part.
Thank you.
When are you sending the 500?
Believe it or not, they are hurt, and this is going to continue. SUP is an institution. Whether we are like it or not, they are hurt. I will leave it as it is.
Please send the 500. When you sending the 500?
Thank you. A lot of callers here, so let's be brief.
Mr. Jayu, you let him off the hook. When is he sending the 500?
I didn't even understand what he was saying. I thought he said you were getting paid or I'm getting paid, but so I didn't pick up what he was saying.
Yeah, he said if I deny it, he will send you 500 now. So I deny it. I want to know when.
You were paying. He said you were paying John $100 every.
Yeah, I was sending you. I will pay you $100, and then if I deny it, he will send 500.
Mr. Houston Brooks. You're live, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, brother. Good afternoon, brother Dennis. It's good afternoon from me where I'm at. And so let's cut this stuff down to the chase. Mr. Jerome Gayman, sitting up there, knows very well, and we are intellectuals. As a matter of fact, we know why Akara's grave went on that campus on Monday. The university had sent out a notice that the school was closed at noon. There was all teaching activities, administrative activities were closed, stopped at noon. He still showed up with his men. So there is no question that he is solely responsible for the incident that took place. Now we can share the blame around. We can say, for instance, why didn't the university put out since the Friday before Monday that there were going to be no school at all on that Monday to save the day? We could ask that. Now the banning student politics, and you yourself, Mr. Jai, you mentioned that banning political gatherings and stuff like that. You yourself just mentioned that these things have happened a million times or have not solved the problems. So we can get to the root cause of what the problem is on the campus. But coming down to the incident of Monday, Akara's grade is responsible. He is solely responsible, and that's it. So we're going to stop there. Now, on Ambassador McCarthy's statement, whether he was in place to say it or not, it can be disputed. But what do you expect? I was totally shocked when I heard Mr. Verdi comments, and I'm not going to say the exact words like you mentioned, things that are so disgusting you won't want to repeat it on air. When I heard that a couple of weeks ago, I myself was still on the back. But like my sister, she said, the ambassador's statement was unfortunate. He may or may have not been in the place to say it, and people can dispute that. But what has that led us to? Now we're pointing finger at each other. We're trying to find out who was he talking about. Who was he? And I would say I'm in that crowd too, because I would say I don't think Mr. Verdi, irresponsible comment a couple of weeks ago led to what we heard. We are giving the ambassador the power that he has in Monrovia, so we blame ourselves for that.
Thank you.
Now, for me, shortly before for me to leave, Mr. Gayman, a couple of weeks ago, I came on your show, and I said I was displeased about some comments he mentioned about former Justice Scott incident. For a couple of days following that on his show, he did come out and say that he could have been more measured in the way he presents. I want him to know I heard it, and I respect him for that. Okay, but I will get off the phone and continue to follow.
Thank you. There are so many callers. Let us be brief, please. Mr. Christopher Roti Tobasi, you are live, brother.
Yeah, Mr. Dennis, thank you. But Mr. Dennis, thank God, they enjoy yourself. Please let me enjoy myself
more. 1 minute, please. Go ahead.
We gotta go to bed.
You got 1 minute to enjoy yourself.
Well, Mr. Dennis, the America we live. What the behavior we saw on our LU campus. Every one of us went to school here. I mean, whether you're a Unity Party or you CDC or wherever it is, for me, I really don't care. But enough is enough. So many of our people have died. The behavior over there, if anybody did that in America, if you're a student and you engage in craziness, you finish. In fact, the student here will not even allow you to even think about it.
Right. So how do we address that situation?
We all got to stay as Liberians.
Right. How do you address it?
Yeah, I'm saying that let's forget about the talking. The way forward. Solution, the way forward. I want to say thank you to the president of the university, but it's too little too late. And I'm calling on the president for him to be removed or replaced. Whole leadership over there be removed or replaced. It is about time now that we Liberian people will say to the president and to the lawmakers that we need to find the way forward. And I will get some suggestions. We need a campus-based police department. I don't care whether we want to run from it. We need it. We are doing it in America here. The police on campus, they have the authority to arrest and turn over to wherever department. We will do the same on our campus. Enough is enough. We're done with the talking. We'll put real solutions, and then we can move forward. Come on, man. This thing been happening since 1970. This thing happened in 1984. This thing happened 2001. 2001. Oh no, you Brian or whatever it was. This thing happened. And it happening on the president. We are 2023.
2019.
Look at that girl that was running today. When all people were chasing her today. That girl could have died. It could have been your daughter or my daughter. All students are innocent. And y'all say that we will have a student political party on campus. Are you crazy? In America, here we have student government that will channel students, things that students want. Things that students like tuition.
Yeah, Chris, please conclude. So what is the solution? Right. What is the solution? They want Akara's grade provider. Is that a solution?
Listen, that's what I talk about. We Liberians got to be fair. Mm-hmm. All right. Before it got to Akara grade, because I'm coming from the background of law or whatever. Okay, before it got to Akara grade, because if you start from 1 to 100,
I agree. I said the solution.
2 to 3. But I'm saying whether Akara grade, whether you get Mulbah, who it is, Mr. Mr. Dennis, I told you that the president has to remove the President Johnson has to remove the university president and that leadership. It got to be replaced. And we got to have a campus-based police department. We got to tap budget to it. They must get their own budget. They must get their own leadership. And we got to work with the lawmaker and the president so that we can put things in place, in perspective, that these guys can get to work, so that we can solve this problem once and for all.
Thank you, Mr. Tawasi.
Solution is the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring in George Wheeler. George, you are live. Go ahead. 1 minute, please. George, are you there? Let's go to Ambrose. Ambrose, you are live.
Yeah, it's John. How you doing?
Great.
I thank you, man. You know, my first question will go to you. Mm-hmm. So, does Soup supposed to be the one justifying or fighting for the Liberian people now? Because it seems, from what I heard you just said a few minutes ago, it sounds like what Soup been doing, I can't accuse you of condoning it, but maybe you are in favor of what Soup was doing.
How?
Because, okay, you just asked the gentleman, say, what grade did, if that was okay.
No. I said, I'm asking him for solution. I said, did grades provide, what he did was a solution?
Okay, it was not a solution.
Okay.
What grade did was wrong. But the problem here, students got to be students. I know you went to school in America. Students got to be students. Students got to advocate for students.
I went to school in Liberia too.
Okay, and I have a Soup ID. I can send it to you. You can see it. But Soup is getting. I think the war that we fought in Liberia have naturalized, have put everybody in a military form.
Yeah.
So that I watched Soup operation. I said, "Oh, okay, this is a new military."
And not Soup alone. All of them, even the political party, they are militants. They are like that.
Yeah. So but I think it's time for the to temper down the temperature.
Yeah.
Let it suspend all political activity on the campus. If the person will do it in good faith, it shouldn't just be against Soup, but it should be against anybody or everybody. Right. And the first thing I think is the university needs to have I know, like you say you went to school in America, a representative or senator or government official will just not pop up on university campus without approval from administration or somebody approving it or wanting to know what they're coming there for. Well, the purpose of their visit. But, we need to start finding solutions and, let's temper down the temperature. Because right now, all about putting Liberia on fire.
Yeah.
Because if we just continue with this type of way and we have an election on October 10th, they're going to put the gasoline on the field. Thank you,
Mr. Wheeler. Thank you, Mr. Ambrose. Let me go back to Mr. Wheeler. George, you're live. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jai, and I appreciate everyone. Someone caught my attention yesterday. It's Mr. Kromah. I think it's my first time seeing this guy, and the way he spoke, it just mirrored my entire, thinking. So I just want to make a comment on what
when the man say you see the moon, you're going to wait on.
So here's what I want to start with. I want to first start with the American ambassador's comment and why it is very important that we listen to it and make sure that we can learn something from it. So let's take, for instance, I don't want to be derogatory here, right? But I just want to say something that Mr. Waterspoon, can we now say in America, can Mr. Waterspoon carve his stone? No, it can happen. It can happen because the people have respect for the instituted authorities and the institution that got that will take care of those cases.
Correct.
But then let's go back to the American ambassador. What he said these people want people to lose hope or any belief system in the instituted authority. And you see how it boils down to what is happening in Liberia? Now, this man was just sanctioned in Liberia. He was sanctioned and he did not even go to court. These boys want to destroy his car because he was sanctioned, right? They don't want to wait because our people on the media, you people that are on the airwaves, telling people things, you make also lose that faith, that hope that these institutions can do what they're supposed to do. So we want to take the law into our own hands. So you see how the ambassador is right? We are destroying our country unknown to ourselves, and we think we are getting popularity or we are getting something done. We are getting nothing done. We are only destroying our society. And trust me, Mr. Ja or anyone on this panel, one day you will have somebody who you want to be president or be president. And when these same things are happening, you will be the same one like us on the other side, trying to plead for people to calm down. And these are the issues. And Mr. Kromah said something like that. Yeah. And when we don't continue, we'll be moving in this vicious cycle, and things will continue to get bad, and our children will struggle.
Thank you.
We don't want that. So what we need to go back to is to make sure that we give people the needed information that is required to say, look, when somebody commits a crime, it doesn't take one day for that person to be judged and everything is over. It takes time. The court process is slow, but it's sure. Let us put our faith in this institution. But now, nobody trusts the police. And guess what? Our social media superstars or influencers, what they tell us is that they're CDC police. So because a CDC police, when somebody does anything, I will just kill them. I will not wait for the police to come. And guess what? Somebody's child has just died. And sometimes that death is wrongful. Sometimes that's not the person who even did it. It happened in Ghana before. We know all these things.
Thank you.
What we need to be telling our people now. So thank you very much for giving your airway.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, man. Let's go to Dr. Kula. Bottom.
Yeah. So let me deal with the ambassador. I think I've discussed it. The ambassador was right, because when you have somebody like Jerome coming on Spooner, all the major platforms, and putting out rumors as if it is fact, using words like the president said, "Did by them," after he molested them and blah blah blah. I mean, you don't do that. Not one time did Jerome say, "My sources told me," or allegedly, or "this is what I heard." He put it out as if he was sitting there in a room watching the president molest the boys and then say, "Divvy that." You don't do that, especially when you reach the level that Jerome has reached in our society, where they allowed him to be chairman of the PRC. A lot of weight. There's much more expected of somebody like Jerome Verde. I think that's one of the reasons why the ambassador spoke, and he was right for speaking. Now, let's talk about the issue at the LU campus. We Liberians, especially our politicians, are very lazy. And the way some of us raise children is how the government is run.
Just like how we used to bounce grumble on the football field, the government now saying, I will bounce G. Let's see who will stand in front of me. So we got the power, we'll deal with the boys, we'll bring them down, they need to get their frisking, blah, blah, blah. Just a whole raw mentality, not thinking things through, not sitting down and looking at policies, not de-escalating, none of that stuff. Just raw and emotions. To the highest level is what Akaris did. He aggravated the situation and made the situation work. This situation, they just start by what's his name going on the children campus. It started when our boy was flogged. Others get mad when our little boy was flogged at the U.S. Embassy. The children didn't bother y'all. They went to the U.S. Embassy to petition. And y'all flogged those boys and nothing came out of it. POP that George Weah disowned. Are running around Monrovia, they're calling radio stations, they're behaving as if we are the men, we can do whatever we want to do, and nothing will come out of it. And because of that, people believe that indeed there is a CDC police. There is a different rule for CDC partisans that is for the average Liberian or people that are seen as enemies of the state. And that creates a problem. That's when people take the laws into their hands. Now you say you're going to stop these boys from... Wait, let me finish my video. I've got to say this. This is very important. Now you say you're going to stop these boys from having politics on campus. This is something that has gone on since Tubman days, when these guys were agitating because Liberia didn't allow politicians to be free. So these boys started from the campuses. Now you say you're going to stop them from doing their politics instead of saying, let's find a way to create a true FCA. Let's find a way to create fraternities and sororities. Let's find a way that we can create, like how they do here in America, young Democrats, young Republicans. Let's find a way you can have young UP, young CDC on campus so that we know who you align with and what the politics is all about as opposed to SGA or Student Government Association. That's what they need to be thinking about instead of banning these boys. Because what these boys are going to do, they're going to react. They're going to say, nobody's going to ban us. They're going to do the same thing that has always happened in Liberia. They're fighting one force against another. Because what? Coaching and Bonnie Jesse and them were all part of this student politics. They agitated during Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf's administration. Now they want to shut their friends down. That's what's going on.
Thank you, Dr. Kula.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trokon Bedi, is that a name? Your name, please, and where you calling from?
My name is Trokon Bayu. I called that last night, you pronounced my name wrong again, and then tonight you're doing the same thing. My name is Bayu. If you, Mr. Jerome Gayman is a friend of my late father, Joseph M. Bayu. You can ask him, he will tell you more about
it. Oh, wow.
Okay, I'm going to speak here on a very serious background perspective. When I got into being a professional person, my first job was to be an adjunct professor at the State University, biggest community college here in Indiana. So from that background, I'm going to ask a serious question. What's the definition of a student? And what's the definition of American? Because I listen to my sister very well, and she's independent. I've been listening to your show, series of your shows, and she always appear and approach issue on a very as an independent person. So I respect her perspective, but I'm kind of a little bit confused about her position in the whole student issue at the University of Liberia. Where we say the grade is wrong. I'm not going to support that. Equally so, the students are wrong. Nobody yet is right. You cannot be a student and be a American. That's not possible. You have to choose one. You can be a student and practice politics and present your argument in a logical and respectful manner. That's what students are supposed to do. If you marching around and shouting battle cry like you still fighting 1990 war, then in that capacity you cannot be considered students. That is simple as that. So I'm kind of like a little bit disappointed how we were put on our political hats and then just choose blindly and see something that is going on that is not right, and because it suits our case at a specific moment of time, we tend to support it. I do not agree with that. The University of Liberia students are wrong. So it's represented great. But Mr. John wants to know solutions. So let me recommend a few solutions to this. One of the reasons I found in Liberia, especially at our universities, it seems that we have a lot of lazy professors. These professors are not doing their homework, and they are not keeping the students busy. What they should have done, saying these guys in Liberia want to do nothing else but practice politics, you try to shape their mindset by engaging them into, let's take for example, sometimes you give them assignment to write about 5,000 word papers. Do that 2-3 times a week and keep their mind busy. And don't just allow them to write.
Maybe they don't have the logistics to when they pay.
You see? So let them write with facts and research, not just writing garbage.
Right.
Engage them, keep them busy, keep them very busy. They will keep their mind off politics because they want to graduate. They will be concentrating on their schoolwork. That's one of the things we need to do. Secondly,
quickly, Mr. Bayo.
Yeah, I about to finish. You're trying to hurry me up. Secondly, what you need to do, my second recommendation would be to conduct a thorough investigation and suspend every student involved for time indefinite. Because if you want to learn, you got to focus on your learning. You can't be a student, you want to be politician, so private and everything. Everything, it doesn't work at the same time. You have to stay focused on your school work. Right. That's why we got a lot of people coming out of the university. They can't even write good letters in the first place.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
And before you go, what punishment would you recommend for the two lawmakers?
Okay, you see, that's why it is difficult because these two lawmakers they are elected officials. So it's left with those who voted for them to make that decision.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me bring in Mr. Saros McGee. Saros, you're live, please.
Hey, Mr. John, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How yourself?
I'm doing good, thank God. Let me say good evening to you and all the panelists, especially the powerful Glendy G. The partner with the guys. He's a very brave person. I trust him for that. Let me start up with the statement coming from the U.S. ambassador, okay? I see people at this point, taking a stab at Ambassador McCarthy. But guess what? There's a saying that put your mouth where your money is. We all agree that the United States is the highest donor to our country. And these people will not sit back and see our peace at the forefront, getting back to where we were 22 years ago. Maybe they are the highest taker too, not just the giver. Oh yeah, we can say that it's not accurate, But I would tell you that when there is anything happening, we all say we're going to the American embassy. When our former government officials were sanctioned, we hailed them. A couple of months ago, when Ambassador McCarthy came on and spoke about, the craft institutions, the GSC, LCC, and how they were not being supported, we hailed them. We hailed the U.S. We hailed the U.S. a year ago when Ambassador McCarthy said, what would J.J. Rowell say? So this time around, they are pointing out, the facts are there. It's clear that people in the U.S. sit here on our platforms and create, situations that our country cannot handle. We must take this and say, let us call out those that are in the habit. With the fact that we're going to elections, there will be a lot. But we must take this and say, yes, let's take the best thing out of this and look for the best for Liberia. It's not wrong. The facts are there. The realities are there. Let's not bend our face on it because it is not what we want to hear today. or we welcome what he said or what the U.S. spoke in the past. Ambassador McCarthy is not speaking his opinion. He's speaking on behalf of the government of the United States of America. Let's take that seriously.
Okay.
On to the U.S. Let's first condemn the situation on our highest institution, campuses. So what happened today on Sunday after the UL administration announced the suspension of, student policies. I was in UMU 2011 when the student, groupings there started what the UL doing. The United Methodist Church through the university suspended all student activities. You never saw that anymore. Look, students will have to be students and we have to play that role as students. We cannot continue to see our young people medicinizing, the campuses of our universities and feel it's okay. And we see lawmakers who should be the ones that will go there and say, let's inquire what's going on. And with the fact that Representative Gray on the board of the UL, like I understand, he should be one person who should call the UL administration and say, what's going on, what can we do? Especially he's chairman on executive of the House of Representatives. It's something that we should frown upon. And it doesn't give any right to Representative Kromah to move on there and say, I'm going to give the campus back to the students. No, two wrongs don't make a right.
Thank you.
A state at stake. Let us now tell these students, you have to be students. What can we do? Representative Gray called the UL, and I will file on the UL administration. The thing about being reactive and being proactive is what we see in our country. Yeah. Why would the police stand there and think that a representative should be coming before you make the way for him to enter the compounds or the campuses of the university? Unlike, if today the students say we go to the Capitol building to protest, guess what? The police will barricade that entire Capitol building compound. Stopping people. The students who are going to the executive master, we will see EPS and the police. If possible, the AFL will come and barricade that executive master compound. So what can we do? What do we wait for the point that our students, the young people, the future leaders must wear khaki to go and kill each other? And trust me, Mr. Gayman, I covered the UL campus. I saw when officials of government who were from different political parties at the point that the university is having elections, student council elections, see what happened on the university campus. People get injured, because these people in government feel they should protect the political institutions that come on that campus. The feel is where they make government. When will we stop this and look up, let our chairman or executive and board member of the UL call the UL president and say, what can we do to increase the budget of young people at the university where young people go to learn?
Thank you, Sarah.
We must call this out. We must call it out, Chief. Let's keep calling it out. It's wrong, and nobody should think that I will do this the other way, and it's right for the young people. Let us call that out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. We have 4 more callers. Let's be brief now, and I won't hesitate to just copy it.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
There's an anonymous caller here. 30 seconds, please. Your name and where you're calling from.
This is Dino.
Who?
How are you? I'm calling from Maryland.
You say your name?
Dino.
Okay.
I'm calling from Maryland.
Go ahead, Dino. You have 30 seconds.
I'd like to talk on 2 things. One has to do with the situation of early campus. This is another strategy by the CDC government. They are very good at diverging Liberian people for all the activities that is going on around them. This was premeditated by them. Akara Gray knew exactly what they were doing. They planned that whole stuff and they went on the campus because they knew the students were going to retaliate and the administration were going to use that means to stop their politics. It's not anything that has to do with he mistakenly did it. He did it intentionally because they have premeditated. On the other hand, I listened to Jerome. Jerome talk about Henry Costa saying killing of Jefferson Kochi. Jerome, I think you are one of those that are causing chaos in the country. You lying too much about Henry Costa. He did not say that. He said if he knew someone was going to attack Jefferson Kochi, he wouldn't say. He didn't say we should kill him. He said because Jefferson Kochi was getting too powerful in that if we don't stop it, there will be a serious issue. People will get killed a lot. He did not say someone should kill him.
Thank you.
So please, thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me take Emmanuel. Emmanuel, quickly, 30 seconds. Emmanuel, go ahead, please.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got an issue with Universal Liberal students. Let me tell you, every government that comes into power, the Universal Liberal students get political fast. You see the Assistant Minister for Technical Services and Minister of Agriculture, Alvin Wise, he was expelled from the Universal Liberal. Okay, what happened? When CC took power, they brought Zawo Nursing. Zawo Nursing brought him back to full president. Today he there. And the Universal Liberal students got a priority wrong. Stop fighting government. Fight for yourself. Your university don't have good latrine. Your building are not printed. You know the about that? Someone on the camera to have lunch. I can't agree. You got level in your brother Laburo. I can't agree. So people on the camera was not because you want to have lunch. He been against soup. And soup been whipping all his life. To whipping. Then you got you there. 2 years against soup. Universal Labrador is being politicized by any government that comes to power. They get anti-government, they get pro-government.
Thank you.
They get Kromah. They get Kromah. It's an opportunity. In Korea, they get popularity. This is election time.
Thank you. Thank you. You got a point. Thank you. Let me take Hassan and then Patience. Then we'll close. Hassan, go ahead quickly.
Listen, I 100% support the students. Listen, if you did a poll of all the callers that call, now you will see the reason why I want people that live in the diaspora, they live there all their life and still haven't learned anything what democracy is. That's why they're criticizing and stuff like that. If you just look at if you citizens go back to the 70s, so our people don't know anything what democracy is. The moment they see any sign of uprising or whatever it is, or civil unrest or whatever it is, they get in the heart it is. Right? All our people there that have been calling this show are always there saying, if you look at students in America, if you look at the civil rights movement and stuff, it was students that was on those buses that went down in the deep south to protest. If you look in South Africa, it was students. So these children are being suppressed economically. That's the only way we can solve this problem. Until they can have a government that hold legislators accountable and stuff like that. That's the only way we can stop this thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's get our last caller here, and that's Patience. Patience, Ato, go ahead.
Well, I guess this is my number, right? This is James Johnson.
Okay, go ahead.
I have few concerns, and the first one has to do with the ambassador's statement. Free speech, in my view, should be allowed in every democratic society. The ambassador's statement, as good as he has been to the Liberian society, his recent statement, I think there were some mistakes. I do not think the generalization of his statement was good. If not all Liberians or Liberian or diaspora Liberians are the ones who are bringing trouble or instigating violence in Liberia, let us assume, as I posted on one of these pages, let us assume George Weah would have made such a statement. He would have been condemned by everybody. Because generally, even if some Liberians are sitting on some platforms and making statements that are contradictory to free speech, that cannot be generalized. And I think that's the point that Liberians should remind the U.S. ambassador. From the U.S. ambassador's statement, that's still anything that came to my mind. Liberians themselves, because of the Civil War and because of our inability to govern, everyone probably cannot distinguish what is wrong and what is right. And because of that, the problem continues. But even all of the foreign officials close to Liberia or in diplomatic cycles in Liberia, when they make mistakes, they should be told.
Same goes with even all of these, whether World Bank or whatever. They are there to help the country. When they do positive things, they should be praised. When they slip, they should be told. That's what democracy calls for. On the other issue of Akara's Gray and Kolba, they have right. Their freedom of movement is within them. The Constitution provides for them. But the matter of form that went on the campus, thus creating chaos, these people should have been penalized. I see a transferred aggression on the students. Then the student politics is not the end result. What do you achieve as a result of doing that? Why don't the plenary of the House, why don't one of those members, why don't the education minister complaining those two officials? Or why can the speaker call for an investigation of those two leaders? And then they could be warned, they could be suspended, they could be penalized in whatever way or form.
Thank you.
But instead of touching these two officials, they are now going on the students. Then the student politics, and because you have to leave the ban anyway. Other than that, you're going to have chaos all around the place. You don't have jobs for the young people. If you have jobs, someone has to go run on campus, do 1 or 2 credit hours, and then jump back to go to work, like some of us did before. So to leave all of these things, I think it's been student politics. It's not the end result. It's not going to bring any result. The students, some of them political science, most of them are in a political organization. Almost all of the leaders in Liberia now came from the University of Liberia or other universities. They all studied politics.
Yeah.
Yesterday, people were running across the road. I mean, advocating and doing all that of stuff. The same demonstration went on yesterday.
Thank you.
So we don't think this time around that the students should be banned. What those who were responsible, they should be sitting down. I saw Akara's Way and Yeke Kolba from one another. They played
Yeah.
when the students now are being the ones to be punished.
Thank you. No, good point. Thank you. Well, we want to thank our callers, and time is way fast spent. But let me give you a chance to respond to the callers and also give your closing. Mr. Gayman, you start.
Yeah, thank you very much for a great show. Thank you, Mr. Kromah and Jen. This is what Liberia calls for, and I will say this briefly and say that if we really want to be serious about the violence, we have to go back to the root issues, which is inequality and social stratification. After 200 years, for the first time, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf put together a commission to settle land dispute in Nimba County. And that was just in Nimba County. That almost resulted into war, and that issue have not been resolved. We still have the tribal land issue. We still have people. I have a friend who is from one of the ruling classes in Bassa. He says, Jerome, I have to give back some of the land that my parents have. He said, because I have got over 5,000 acres here. He said, at some point when they start asking for us to pay taxes on these, we may not be able to pay, so I just have to give them back. This is one person in the city of Buchanan and around the city of Buchanan. He alone has about 5,000 acres. And everybody else is squatting. These are fundamental issues that we have to address.
Yeah.
We have to address these issues. These are the issues that are underlying these things, and we're not addressing them. But the politicians, those who have stake in it, they come and create this facade. We are fighting about ourselves, and they are getting wealthy and wealthy and wealthy. And you take this other guy out, you bring this other one, and he get wealthy and he gets out. And we have to get to the root of the issue. Other than that, we are spinning our wheels. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Glendy?
So anyway, it was a good show. It was long tonight, but it was good to be on. I think Mr. Gayman was a little bit mellow. I think the ambassador's statement probably was different. was directed to him. But
you said the tribute that ran it in your field out here. No respect.
But great show, and thank you to the audience. There's some audience out there who are always there. I just want to compliment them. Sam Waller always, even though we don't agree every time on everything he says, but he's a dedicated audience, and it's because of you all out there that we do this. I'm not a politician, but I have an opinion, and that's why I always come here and share mine. But great show. Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you. Perfect Manager.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you again for the opportunity, man. It's always good to come on here and talk about our country in a way that all of us are passionate about. Mr. Gayman and I never agree on anything, but tonight it seems like we agree on several issues, which I'm really excited about. The fact that he's talking about the historical vestiges of what caused us to be where we are today. That's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And so when I hear him talk about land issue, for example, he's right. Land crisis in Liberia, land is one of the things that we've been be war in Liberia that nobody want to pay attention to. There are few people in Liberia that I know that if I tell you how many acres of land that they've bought under the CDC administration and where they bought those land, you'll be amazed. They're not buying because between and I, 60% of the land in Montserrat County are undeeded. So people are able to just, get the president to sign on a piece of paper and say, okay, this deed is officially yours, and it becomes theirs. So the land issue in Liberia has not been resolved yet. There are people in Liberia, like I said, that are angry, internalizing all of their anger. We've not been able to have any kind of conversation to get these people some kind of redress about what happened in the conflict. Some of them are angry only because they associate with a particular ethnic group. Some people are angry because directly they are affected by what happened in the conflict. Several years on, we have not been able to talk anything about those things. These young people are coming along the way, don't have any historical insight about Liberia and all of the things that happened in the past. But they see that there is some sort of vulnerability and they're taking on it and they are running with it. And the political parties and the leaders in the country are inciting them. They are providing incentive for them to continue to do what they're doing. And those incentives are causing them to become violent. People are losing their lives and there's no redress. Nobody going to prison. You ever heard any public official going to jail? It doesn't happen. It's only the young people that go to prison. And unless we have some sort of accountability, just like in America, when you do something here, you are held accountable no matter what power you have. Unless we have some sort of accountability for everybody, no matter who you are, we'll continue to have the issues that we're having. But I'm really, really glad that, I had a chance to have this platform with all of you. And, hopefully we can come back again and continue to have these conversations. Thank you so much.
Most definitely. Thank you so much. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., we're going to have Gauging the Economic Pulse of Liberia on FOL Marketplace. Don't want to miss it. That's every Saturday at 3 p.m. We have our business, economic, and finance show that we call FOL Marketplace. Then at 7, we're going to have Bassa 360, a historic narration of Bassa from 1461 to 1821. Come and learn about Bassa, the area, Bassa, the ethnic group, the language, from 1461 to 1821. And guess, Mr. Gayman will be here hosting, in my stead. Also on Sunday, Women Transformational Leadership will be on the noonday with Priscilla Gnato and the girl Seru Kona Gallo. She's a conflict resolution, peace building expert, and she's going to be the guest. You don't want to miss Focus on Liberia. We do it all. Again, thank you to all of you for coming. I want to thank our viewers, those who are watching now, those who are going to watch later. Always focus on Liberian. That's why we end every broadcast with the song that says, we are all Liberians. Whether you believe the students were right, the administration right, Akaros is right, or Yeke, we are all Liberians. It's the way we approach it, right? You can think the ambassador is right or wrong, whatever you believe. The only thing that we should all agree on is to do our very best to make our country the glorious land of liberty. I love Liberia, and I'm sure you do. That's why we play We Are All Liberians. Have a good night, and God bless you.
Good night.
Good night.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.